Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Padgett. I hope that you all have been enjoying the Water Justice Training Institute thus far. Uh, this short video will walk you through the process of mapping your assets using Google Maps. So, if you remember, during the third workshop, we actually looked at case study 3, which was the case study for Africatown, Alabama. And this is where we uh, ventured into the use of Google Maps to build an ArcGIS online map. And so, if you remember, the steps were laid out here. And so, what I'm going to do is go through this methodology in much greater detail. And at the end of it, you will wind up having the ArcGIS online map displayed here. So we're going to use Africatown as the study area. Since I went from here, and I'm going to show you how to get from here to here. So you're going to be provided with this set of instructions on community flood asset mapping using ArcGIS Online and Google Maps. So the first thing that you'll have to do is set up your ArcGIS Online public account. And so it's fairly simple. Just go through these instructions and just follow the screen captures, and you should wind up with your own license for ArcGIS Online. It doesn't cost anything. Uh, Make sure that when you're asked for an email address, that it's one that you use regularly. And because they're going to send you a confirmation email to set it up. This probably takes less than 4 or 5 minutes. If you have any issues, of course, as always, reach out to me. But this is the first step, is setting up your ArcGIS Online account. So next, we're going to go through the process of identifying your various flood assets and then entering those data into a spreadsheet, including the latitude and longitude. And the latitude and longitude is very important because that is necessary for mapping in ArcGIS Online to happen. Okay, so again, I said we were going to use the Africatown, Alabama as the case study site. And so you can just simply go to Google Maps. To go to Google Maps, you can go to Google and then just simply type in Google Maps. And this screen should come up. I'm in Nashville right now. So, of course, my Nashville map shows up, but we want to go to Mobile, Alabama. Of course. And so we want to zoom in on the community. In this case, let's see if Africatown shows up. Okay, Africatown Historic District. And so here we are. So the question is, well, what are some of the assets that we want, that we're concerned with? And so the selection process is to enter the assets into a spreadsheet. Now, if you notice, this particular set of instructions, fix that there. This particular set of instructions is for a walking, a walkthrough. Uh, and sometimes we can use Google Maps to get the latitude and longitude coordinates for places that we might not be able to easily access. Or maybe the area that we want to map is just too large to walk around. Okay. So let's move on. So in this case, instead of using GPS, I'm going to show you how to use Google Maps and to get the latitude and longitude. I'm going to follow these instructions. So let's start with our first location. So where we are here, this is the Africa Town Cemetery, very prominent and important site in Africa Town, as most of you all know. So it's very simple. If I'm in ArcGIS Online, I'm going to drop a pin here. And there's the latitude and longitude right there. The 30 is latitude, which is the arc angle distance north and south of the equator. Longitude is the arc angle distance east and west of the prime meridian, which is the line of longitude that goes through England. Notice the number is negative. And so that number is negative because we can't, well, you'll see. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to the spreadsheet. Now, I can provide you with this spreadsheet. Now, this spreadsheet can be altered, but I'm just using this now. So the first thing we're going to do is get latitude and longitude. Now, notice I'm going to paste this into the cell. Notice that we use the negative for longitude because we can't put characters like N for north latitude or W for west longitude into a number cell. Now, watch carefully when I do this. I'm going to enlarge this so that you can kind of see what I'm doing here. Now, first of all, we're not going to round these numbers off because that's going to limit our accuracy. Just don't round the numbers off. Very carefully. Now, you can either do one or two things. You can enter this number manually in the longitude, or the shortcut is to just go here and right click and then cut that out because we don't want latitude and longitude in the same cell. Go to longitude, hit paste, and now your longitude number is in the longitude column. Finally, we want to get that comma out of there. Notice when we get the comma out, the number shifts. So now we have a number cell. Now, feel free to rewind this if necessary. I know I might be going a little fast. Okay, so now we're going to complete the rest of the items on the spreadsheet. We want to have, and this is coming from the instructions. So you have the data collector name, very important because in many cases there might be a lot of people entering data, and mistakes are made, and we want to know, not to blame somebody, but just to ask the person or the volunteer, did you mean to type this in this column? Just to follow up. So I'm the data collector today. Padgett, CBO name. I'm just going to use Chess. Chess is a community-based organization that I work with in Africa Town. Asset name, in this case, Africa Town Cemetery. Asset type, vulnerable site. Location. Okay, now location is important. It's important in terms of letting us know where this place is in the event that someone doesn't type a number in here correctly or something is off. Or so a notice this cemetery probably doesn't have an address. Well, the address is 1960 Bay Bridge Road, Mobile, Alabama. So that could be correct. I don't know. It would be interesting to test that. Um, let's see, let's hit that here. But in any case, we can either use that address or we can use cross street. Now, in this case, I would use the cross street because that's a much more um, accurate locator than, somewhere out here. And so I would say Graveyard Alley at Bay Bridge Cutoff Road as the location. So now we know, because when you create a map, you really should not assume that the person reading the map is going to know what you know. So right now I'm gonna save this file. And I'm gonna call it Workshop 3. Save that. So when you're working on any file, but especially a spreadsheet, try to save it as often as possible. The last thing you want to do is have a whole spreadsheet compiled, and then the power goes out, and then and you lose everything because it's not saved. City and state, and in this case, some of your, like I said, this spreadsheet can be tweaked. And instead of city and state, this might be community. You might have multiple communities. I know some of you all have multiple small towns or small communities within your uh, area of concern that you created, or within your community boundaries. You might have more than one city, town, neighborhood. So, like, again, you can customize this spreadsheet to fit your needs. Okay, so we're going to call this site a vulnerable site. So in this case, we're identifying assets as either being vulnerable sites, places that we want to protect from flooding, or areas that could possibly be a flood uh, mitigation site or flood reduction site. So in this case, the Africatown Cemetery, just as an aside, this is actually a site that at one point I was working with to prevent it from flooding, because the flooding that was occurring in the Africatown Cemetery has been actually significantly damaging the cemetery. Some of the monuments have been completely covered or have toppled over due to not necessarily catastrophic flooding, but the kind of flooding that happens, or water, standing water that moves through the cemetery that has resulted in damage to the monuments. And so there is actually, work being done to stop that flooding from happening in this cemetery. So this is actually a really good example of a vulnerable site. So then, if there are any notes, anything you'd like to add, in this case, I might put in here flooding, or I'd say runoff is damaging cemetery monuments. So that's a note. That just gives an example of exactly what's happening on that site. And again, when we start to work one-on-one, we will have more specific categories, perhaps, for these asset names and types. I know some of you all are concerned about toxic flooding, so we might be looking at potential toxic substance release sites or places like that. So the second, let's go to our next possible asset. We're still going to have chess being our organization here. And I'm going to try to find a site where that could potentially be a flood reduction site. Let's see, I'm going to navigate here. It's been a while since I've been to Africa Town. And around here, not there. Specific place I'm looking for here. Okay, so let's look. I'm just going to use this area just as an example. So here's an area that could presumably be used as a retention pond, let's just say. So here's 3 Mile Creek. And so I'm going to drop a pin here. And then get this latitude, longitude, pop it into the spreadsheet. And do the same thing as before. We're going to get be very carefully get the longitude in the longitude column. Get that comma out of latitude. Now we have our latitude, longitude. Okay, so now let's go back to the map and let's see, what is this area? For lack of a better description, let's just call it the Owens School Park. Owens School Park. And in fact, and I'm taking you all through the trial and error just to show you. So I think let's use Owens School Park. And I'm going to drop a pin here instead. I'm just going to get well, just, I'm not going to do that. Let's just keep the lat long that we have. So let's call this Owens School Park. And we're going to call this flood reduction site. Okay. Now, the location, again. Now, location can be identified based upon distance and direction. So we have a major landmark here, 3 Mile Creek, that runs approximately north-south. So we could say that it is at this park is well, let's say that this area is the area that we plan for the possible retention pond. And so we'll say it's at Marion Street and North Cedar Street. Mobile, Alabama. Latitude, longitude. I'm going to save. And then we're going to get into some specifics. I'm going to say potential retention pond site. So the notes give us a more descriptive description of our assets, if you will. Whereas the type fields give us a more general description. So let's say that we were, or you were trying to get funds for flood mitigation. And so there might be 50 of these assets in this table. And so if you wanted to sort based upon how many types of sites that you have, like say flood reduction sites, then you could sort and then just pull out the ones that are flood reduction sites and separate them from the vulnerable sites, even though the order that you collect the data might not be neatly sorted. Okay, so now we have our table. We're just going to do 2 sites here. And so the next step is so we've already saved as an Excel worksheet. And so now we're going to go to File, Save As. Now, everybody's Excel might show up differently, but so that's another thing that you might have to ask about. So it might not look exactly like this. So if your Excel doesn't do exactly what I'm doing, don't worry about it. Also, just as an aside, even if you work in Google Sheets, now you can build this table in Google Sheets, but you have to save it in Excel format. It won't work in Google Sheets. So we're going to save this, and we've already had it saved as an Excel workbook. Now we're going to save it as a CSV comma delimited file. CSV comma delimited file. Not Macintosh, not MS-DOS. CSV comma delimited file. Hit that button. Now hit save. And some interesting things are going to happen. Just click yes. Don't worry about that. Now we can just leave this open. If you close it, it's going to ask you a bunch of more questions. Just hit affirmative or yes until it closes. Okay, so now we have our table set up. And of course, the next step is to log into your ArcGIS Online account. And so this is mine. I'll just log in. And what you want to do is go to Map. And then you'll want to navigate to go down here, this search button. And I'm going to put in Africa Town, Mobile, Alabama. And so here we are. Uh, Now the next step is to go to this add button. The add button here. And then add layer from file. Click add layer from file there. And then go to, now this gets kind of tricky here, but just be patient here. And then find that CSV file that you created on your hard drive here. Open it up. Now you're going to get a whole lot of let's see, this is new actually. Said, how would you like to add this file? Create a hosted feature layer and add it to the map, or upload the file as an item and add it to the map. Let's pick the first option. I think use the first one is what we need. Don't worry about any of this. Just hit next. Don't worry about any of this. Just hit next. Don't worry about any of this. Just create and add to map. Okay, now when we get to this step, notice the points are on the map. There they are, point 1, point 2. Now you have to edit layer style. Hit this button where it says edit layer style. Click there. And the field is the same fields that are in your spreadsheet. Don't worry. Just click there. Now notice it says data collector name, CBO name. Let's choose asset name because that's what's going to show up on the map. So we're going to go to asset name and we're going to hit add and then done. So notice that if I go over here to this where it says legend, if I click there, notice the names of the assets show up on your map. And as always, we want to save our map. Save as, and we're going to add a title. I'm going to call this WJTI Workshop 3 2026 map. And categories, and you can do these research, fundamentals of GIS, tags, Africa Town, and then if you want to add a summary, you can. I'm just going to save this. Save your map frequently. Okay, so notice that a couple of things now. So notice that if we click on our point, notice that this is the Africa Town Cemetery. Click on it. Notice the attribute table shows up with all the information and the notes. It's happening. Site. We go over here to base map. We can change the base map to imagery or imagery hybrid. Imagery hybrid has labels. The imagery doesn't. Imagery. This is just a satellite image. You can zoom in. And as you can see, there's the cemetery. Now, if you notice when we zoom out, well, I guess it isn't as hard to see this other site. So here's the other site that, again, click there. Flood reduction site and potential retention pond site. There it is. And that's how we can change the base map so that anybody seeing the map can have a much more real world view of your area of of concern or area of interest. Um, and so here's your print function, and let's see. So if you're going to create a printout, this is called a layout. The first thing that goes in the title is the place, because the person reading the map is not going to know where this is. So you're going to put Mobile, Alabama, and maybe then after that, Africatown Community Flood Assets Map. That's like advanced scale. Gonna have a legend on the map, and then and when you print the map out, you can take a couple of shots at it, export, and take a look at it. So again, there's the map, comes with the map scale. It's like the legend didn't show up on the map. So that's what I mean. Doesn't have to be perfect the first time. Let's go back here. Oh, maybe I didn't have the legend. Let's see here. And so you want to change the name of the layer. Go here, rename. Again, keep our naming convention. Africatown Floods Assets Map. Okay. Pull the legend out. And we're going to try this print again. Mobile, Alabama. Africa, oops. Africatown Flood Assets Map. PDF, advanced options. Let's see, it said author, chess. All right. I don't know why the legend didn't show up. Let's try this again. Maybe because, let's see. That's interesting. I'll have to play with it a little bit more to see why that legend didn't come up there. But you can print that map out in PDF format, and then you can share it, print it out. I think there are other options. Also, if you want to, if I go back out to the main screen, and let's say you want to share this map with others, then here it says share map, manage sharing. So notice that either if you have an organization, but chances are you can either keep this map within your own um, account in case you don't necessarily want anybody to see it until it's finished. Or you can hit everyone in case you want to share the map after it's finished, and then hit save. And then after saving, oh, that was interesting. Okay, so let's say that happens. Okay, you completely lose where your map is. No problem. Go over to here to where it says content. And this is also how you get back to your map. And notice there's the map. Click right on it, web map. And that's another reason why you should always keep saving the map, because that happens sometimes. You get kind of discombobulated. And now if here, and we can copy the link to the map. And now we can copy this link. Let's see, where should I put this link? I'll just see what happens if I put it into the browser. And then you can share that map with whoever wants to see it. And so that's basically it. I know that was kind of a lot. Again, you can either rewind and then review various parts of this video. And as usual, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. As always, and just text me or email me, and I will be happy to help you if you get stuck at any point. So thank you very much, and looking forward to our upcoming workshops.